Good morning, children. In my previous video, I had taught you the stanza-wise explanation of The Bangle Sellers by Sarojini Naidu. In this particular video, I'm going to teach you the theme of The Bangle Sellers, the title justification, and the literary devices used in this particular poem. To begin with, let us do the theme of The Bangle Sellers. In Sarojini Naidu's poem, The Bangle Sellers, some bangle sellers go to the temple fair to sell their bangles. They shout their trade cry by glorifying those bangles and describing their colors and suitability for girls and women of various ages. The main idea is to present the stages of woman life and the cultural tradition of a typical Indian society of the poet's time. The bangles are compared with natural objects to symbolize the feelings and emotions attached with the life of Indian women and the roles played by the bangles. The theme of the poem is the celebration of Indian womanhood. Sarojini Naidu describes each stage of an Indian woman with a color that is suitable. The poem shows the life of an Indian woman from a dreamy maiden to an excited bride and then to a faithful wife. The bangle sellers say that they have silver and blue bangles, such as the mountain mist, and pink bangles, such as a blooming flower, fit for a maiden's wrist. They say that they have red and yellow bangles for bride, like their innocent laughter and tears. They tell that they have purple and gold flecked grey, which shows the coming maturity for a married woman who cradled children and worships the gods at her husband's side. The Bangle Sellers, title justification. Sarojini Naidu's poem, The Bangle Sellers, is all about bangles. The poet has depicted a picture of typical rural Indian society in the first half of the 20th century, where bangle sellers go to the temple fair to sell their bangles. They shout their trade cry announcing the various colorful bangles they have and which ones are suitable for which age. The poet has given a picture of the stages of woman life, the feelings and emotions attached with those stages through these bangles. The poem also glorifies the rich cultural tradition of India by depicting the role of bangles and bangle sellers in bringing happiness and vibrancy to the society. So, bangles, the lustrous tokens of radiant lives, and its sellers take the center stage in the poem. The Bangle Sellers is an apt title as the entire poem revolves around how the bangle sellers market their bangles for women of various stages of life. From maidens to wives, everyone has their own color of bangles. In Indian societies, bangles are related to prosperity and happiness. They are worn during festivities and celebrations, and hence they are an important part of the life of an Indian woman. Thus, the bangle sellers play an important role in a woman's life, and hence this entire poem, which describes the various types of bangles that they sell, has an ideal title in The Bangle Sellers. The Bangle Sellers, literary devices. Each of Sarojini Naidu's poems is full of literary devices and rich imagery. The Bangle Sellers is not an exception either. The Bangle Seller has used a lot of literary devices, the first one being alliteration. When a particular consonant sound is repeated, it is known as alliteration. The example, the hue of her heart's desire. Now, children, if you see, there's a repetition of H sound, the hue of her heart's desire. So, the repetition of this consonant sound makes it an alliteration. The next literary device is irony. Though the poet did not originally intend it, the poem is ironical. It talks about the bangles being worn by happy daughters and happy wives. But the only wives the poetess seems to hold in high esteem are the ones who live according to their husband's wishes. Sadly, these women cannot assert their individuality, and hence their lives might not be as happy as the poetess thinks them to be. The next literary device is metaphor. Metaphor is the intricate meaning implied to a particular line. The example is rainbow tinted circles of light. The poet likens the colorful bangles to the rainbow, thus a metaphor. The next literary device is simile. Simile is a comparison in which the words like as or like are used. The example, silver and blue as the mountain mist. The second example is, some are like fields of sunlit corn. In the first example, the silver and blue colored bangles are compared to the mist of the mountains. And in the second example, some are like fields of sunlit corn. The yellow colored bangles are compared to the corn which gets the rays of the sun, and of course the bangles are compared to those fields which are cornfields. Okay, these yellow colored bangles are compared to the cornfields. The next literary device used in this particular poem is imagery. Imagery is using words skillfully to create images in the reader's mind. The poem has a lot of visual imagery, like mountain mist. The second example is birds that dream. Another example is newborn leaves. And one more example, that is the flame of her marriage fire. There is one example of auditory imagery as well. The use of the word tinkling is the example of auditory imagery. The next literary device used in this poem is anaphora. When a number of lines, that is the successive ones, begin with the same word, that is known as anaphora. The example is, and cradled fair sons on her faithful breast, and serves her household in fruitful pride, and worships the gods at her husband's side. Naidu's usage of literary devices shows her command of the language and enriches the poem manifold. Apart from these literary devices, Naidu has also used the color imagery. Some of the examples are rainbow tinted circles of light. The poet has brought in all the 7 colors of the rainbow here. The next example is silver and blue as the mountain mist. Another example, some are like fields of sunlit corn. One more example of color imagery is the flame of a marriage fire and the purple and gold flecked grey. All these are the examples of color imagery. This was with regard to the literary devices of the Bangle sellers. Children, this was with regard to the theme, the title justification, and various literary devices used in the poem The Bangle Sellers. I have attached a worksheet with this particular video. Kindly go through that worksheet and answer the questions either on the loose sheets or your fair literature and English notebooks, whichever is available with you. Thank you and have a nice day.